The strange message. The answer that opens a doorway. The first whisper of spirits. The village elders feel a disturbance. Shadows move. Something has been summoned. The truth behind the message. A hidden spirit. A forbidden bond. Jealousy, betrayal, ancestral warnings, and a looming danger. Confrontation with the spirit or the truth behind the message. Peace, consequences, and a powerful closing lesson. Welcome to my channel Black Woman Revenge Stories. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The sun had just begun to sink behind the red hills of Mutawa village, casting long shadows over the round clay huts. Evening birds called from the tall acacia trees, and smoke from cooking fires curled into the quiet sky. Drums from the far end of the village beat slowly, like a heartbeat preparing the world for night. Inside one of the huts, Nari, a young woman with sharp eyes and braided hair decorated with cowrie shells, sat on a low wooden stool. Her husband, Maru, stood at the fire pit, stirring a pot filled with river herbs and ground maize. The scent floated through the air, warm, smoky, comforting. Outside, the wind carried whispers of stories older than the village itself. Stories about the night spirits, the ones who watched humans from the trees when the moon rose. But Nari paid no mind to the old tales tonight. Her thoughts were simple. She was tired, hungry, and her mind was heavy with the memories of her day. Maru hummed softly as he cooked. He always hummed the same tune, an old hunter's song his father taught him. The small flames flickered across his brown skin, and his shadow danced along the mud-plastered wall. Nari reached for the wooden bowl to prepare the calabash cups when something made a sharp, soft sound. Ping! She frowned. The sound came again. Ping! It was Maru's talking stone, the rectangular enchanted device the traveling traders brought from the northern kingdom. Only a few villagers owned such magic stones, and Maru used his to receive messages from the hunting guild where he worked. He didn't hear it because of the bubbling pot, so Nari glanced at it. The stone glowed faintly on the small woven mat beside the stool. A streak of blue light moved across it like a tiny spirit. Then the message appeared. Nari did not mean to read it. Her eyes simply landed on the words. Maru, I miss you. Her heart paused. Her breath caught. Her fingers tightened on the bowl until it creaked. She read the message again, slower this time. Maru, I miss you. Signed by Asha. Nari knew that name. Everyone in the village knew Asha, the young woman who worked beside Maru at the guild. Asha, with her bright smile and quick hands. Asha, who never hid her laughter. Asha, who always brought Maru wild berries during the long hours at the riverbank. Nari felt something cold slide down her spine. Not fear, not anger, something stranger, something like the wind on the night of an omen. She looked at Maru, still humming, peaceful, unaware. A question pressed itself against her mind. Why would Asha message Maru at night? Why would she say she misses him? Nari's breath came slow and shaky. Another thought followed the first. If he sees the message, what will he say? Will he hide it? Will he explain it? She swallowed hard, her mouth suddenly dry. The fire crackled, and sparks leapt like tiny stars escaping the earth. Nari felt the world around her grow silent. Even the drums in the distance seemed to fade. The talking stone glowed again, waiting. Nari stared at it. Her heart was beating too loudly. She didn't like that feeling, being unsure, being afraid of the truth. Instead, she felt something bold rise inside her, something she didn't understand. Without thinking, she reached for the stone. She picked it up. It was warm, almost alive. Her thumb brushed the glowing surface, and the reply box opened like a bright eye. Her mind split in two. One part screaming for caution, another filled with a strange fire. And Nari chose the fire. Her fingers moved on their own. She typed, "Come over. My wife isn't home today." She stared at the words. She stared as the wind outside changed tone, shifting from soft to sharp, like it disapproved. Her hands trembled. She should delete it. She should stop. But a deeper part of her said, if there is truth to fear, better to face it now. Before she could doubt herself again, she pressed send. The message shot away in a flash of blue light. The drumbeats suddenly changed rhythm outside. They grew faster, louder, as if the drummers felt a shift in the air. Nari froze. Something in the hut changed. The fire dimmed for a moment, then flared brighter than before. The shadows stretched long, sharp, unnatural. For a heartbeat, she felt as if the spirits themselves leaned closer, listening. Maru turned from the pot. "Did you say something, Nari?" His voice sounded normal. human, but Nari felt something bigger at work in the room, something unseen brushing past her skin like a cold breath. She hid the stone behind the bowl. No, she whispered. Maru shrugged and continued stirring. But the peaceful feeling he carried moments ago had drained from the hut. Nari's stomach twisted. She waited. Seconds crawled by. Then, ping, the talking stone glowed again. But this time the glow was different, brighter, deeper, pulsing. As if touched by spirit magic. Nari felt her fingers go cold. She turned the stone slowly, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. A single message appeared. No nom. No sender. Just 4 words. I am already here. Nari's breath left her body. She lifted her eyes slowly toward the doorway of the hut. The wind pushed the cloth curtain inward. Outside, the village torches flickered violently in the sudden gust. Somewhere far in the dark, a woman's laugh, soft, distant, not entirely human, echoed through the trees. Nari felt her skin rise in goosebumps. She did not know yet that her message, meant to test a truth, had opened something far older than jealousy. Something with a voice that did not belong to Asha. Something that had been waiting. The night had changed, and Nari had just invited it in. The soft, distant laugh drifted through the night like a thin blade of cold air. It did not sound like Asha. It did not sound like any woman Nari knew. The laugh was too light, too stretched, too hollow. As if it came from someone who was not made of flesh. Nari's breath caught in her throat. The woven cloth hanging at the hut's doorway fluttered again, pushed inward by a sudden gust that carried the scent of wet earth and old woodlands. The torches outside sputtered and hissed, their flames bowing low as if something powerful walked past them. Maru finally noticed. He paused with the wooden spoon in his hand and turned toward the entrance. His eyebrows dipped. The winds are rising too early tonight, he muttered. The rains should not come before the moon is high. But Nari knew this was not the wind of weather. This was the wind of presence. The talking stone in her hands trembled lightly, the glow still pulsing like a heartbeat that did not belong to her. She looked at it again, hoping she had misread the message. I am already here. Her stomach twisted. Maru walked toward the doorway, wiping his hands on a cloth. Let me check the gates, he said casually. The ancestors might be angry about something. He reached for the hanging cloth. Nari's voice burst out in a sharp whisper, Maru, stop. He turned, surprised. What is it? She opened her mouth, but no words came. She couldn't tell him what she had done. She couldn't explain the message she sent, or the reply she received. She couldn't say she had invited something into their home. Instead, she forced a trembling breath. Just, stay inside, she whispered. Maru watched her with confused eyes. He had always been calm, steady, a man who believed in spirits but never feared them. Yet the look on Nari's face stirred something uneasy inside him. He walked back slowly, his footsteps soft on the clay floor. The fire crackled louder, as if relieved to have him near again. Before he could speak, another sound rose outside. Footsteps, but not one pair, not two, many, soft, dragging, uneven, as if several people were walking in the dust. But none of them lifted their feet fully. Nari's skin prickled. Maru's hand moved instinctively to the knife strapped to his waist. Who walks in the village at this hour? He muttered. The gates should be closed. The footsteps grew louder, spreading across the ground like a slow tide. They came from the darkness beyond the nearest torch, where shadows gathered beneath the tall acacia tree. Nari stepped backward until she felt the wall at her back. The laugh came again, but this time closer. Much closer. Maru's eyes sharpened. Nari, do you hear that? She nodded stiffly, unable to tear her eyes away from the entrance. The cloth curtain swayed again. Then, a shape appeared behind it. Not fully visible, not stepping in, just standing there. A silhouette, a woman's outline, thin, still, unmoving except for the slight tilt of her head, as if she listened to their breathing. Nari felt the air squeeze tight around her chest. Maru stepped forward, raising his voice in the fashion of a man who believed he was speaking to a human visitor. Who is at our door? He called. State your name. Silence. The only answer was the deep, slow exhale of the night wind. Maru frowned and reached for the curtain. Don't, Nari hissed, but he lifted it anyway. The night looked back at them. Nothing stood there, just darkness, dust, and the swaying branches of the acacia tree. But the footsteps remained. She could hear them circling the hut now, brushing against the outer wall like fingertips searching for a way in. Maru stepped outside, squinting into the shadows. Who is there? The torches flickered violently as if fighting against a breath not meant for humans. Nari moved to the doorway but didn't step out. The dirt road stretched silent and empty. The village huts glowed faintly with their own fires, and the drumbeats far away had softened to a tense trembling rhythm, like the drummers felt the shift and played for protection. Maru, she whispered, come back inside. He didn't move. He stared at the acacia tree. Someone stood beneath it, a woman, but her features were hidden in shadow. Maru's body stiffened. Nari, do you see her? Nari's voice cracked. Yes. The woman under the tree didn't move. Not even a sway, not even a blink. Her presence felt heavy, like the weight of many years pressing down on the earth. Is that Asha? Maru whispered. Nari's heart hammered. If that was Asha, something was terribly wrong. But as they watched, the woman slowly lifted her chin. Her eyes reflected the torchlight, not like normal eyes, but like two glass beads catching fire. Nari stumbled backward. Maru took an involuntary step back too. The woman began to walk toward them. Her steps made no sound. The torches dimmed again. The Ind died completely. The night held its breath. Nari clutched the doorway, her nails sinking into the cloth. Maru, come inside. Now. This time, he obeyed. He stepped into the hut, and Nari dropped the curtain immediately, hands shaking. The footsteps stopped right outside. They did not retreat. They did not wander away. They stood still. Then, a soft whisper seeped through the small cracks in the mud wall. Maru? Nari froze. The voice was female, but it was not Asha's voice. It was older, heavier, layered, as if it carried another whisper inside it. Maru's hand trembled on his knife. The voice came again, sliding along the wall like smoke. Maru, open. Nari backed away slowly, pulling Maru with her. The firelight flickered wildly though there was no wind. Maru whispered, we must call Elder Kamati. He knows old magic. Nari nodded, but her legs felt weak. The glowing talking stone suddenly pulsed brighter in her hand. A new message appeared, by itself. This time, it was one word, open. The air turned colder. Nari shoved the stone under a woven mat as if hiding it could erase what she had done. Suddenly, boom, something struck the door, not hard enough to break it. Just enough to say, I am real. Another knock followed, then another. Slow, heavy, patient. Nari grabbed Maru's hand, gripping it tightly. We must not open, she whispered. Maru nodded, but the knocking continued, steady and relentless. The drums outside changed rhythm again, this time fast and sharp, the rhythm used only during warnings of spirit disturbance. Nari felt tears sting her eyes. This was her doing, her message, her invitation. She whispered, broken, Maru, I think I called something. He stared at her, confused. What do you mean? Another knock, stronger. Nari swallowed hard. I replied to a message. A message from Asha. Maru's breath hitched. What message? She couldn't say it. Her throat felt locked. The knocking grew violent, rattling the wooden frame. Tell me, Nari, Maru demanded. The fire dimmed, as if hiding from the truth. Nari whispered, voice trembling, I told her to come over. The hut fell silent. Only the spirit outside moved. Maru's face drained of color. You invited someone, he said slowly. Nari shook her head. I thought it was human. The voice outside whispered again, colder now. Maru, open. Maru stepped back, his hand trembling around the knife. Nari whispered, that is not Asha. Maru nodded. I know. The knocking stopped. Silence swallowed the hut. Then, the cloth door began to lift on its own, inch by inch, as if touched by invisible hands. Nari's scream stuck in her throat. Maru raised his knife. The fire leapt high, and the night revealed something waiting. Beyond the doorway. The cloth door lifted higher, inch by slow inch, as if an unseen hand pinched the corner and pulled it upward. The fire inside the hut blazed suddenly tall, its flame stretching like a frightened animal trying to escape the clay hearth. Maru raised his knife, arm shaking, but his stance firm. Nari clung to the back wall, her breath thin and uneven as she watched the doorway widen. At first, nothing appeared. Just the blackness of night, deep, heavy, and silent. But then, shapes began to form inside the darkness. Not one shape. 3, 4, maybe more. They were not fully human, but they carried the height and shadow of human forms. Their outlines swayed like tall grass under the whisper of a cursed wind. Every time the fire flickered, the shapes sharpened, then blurred again, as if the night itself struggled to decide whether they were real. Then one of the shapes stepped forward. It stopped at the threshold of the hut, unable, or unwilling, to cross the invisible line of the doorway. Its form flickered like a dying torch. It was a woman's figure, long, slender, tall, but its edges rippled as if carved from smoke. The cloth door hung frozen in the air. Then came that voice again. Not loud, not soft, simply present. Maru? The figure leaned forward slightly, its head tilting like a predator examining prey. Nari clutched her chest. Maru stepped back slowly, though his knife remained raised. Stay back, he warned, his voice sounding braver than he felt. The figure did not listen. Instead, it extended an arm. A long, thin arm made of shadow and moonlight. The hand stretched toward Maru, not touching, but reaching with disturbing confidence. Nari choked out, "You cannot come in. Leave us." The figure paused. Slowly, it turned its head toward her. Its eyes were wrong. Too white, too bright, too empty. They had no pupils, only pale circular light like two small moons. Nari's knees nearly gave way. The fire behind her spat sparks. The figure spoke again, but this time, the voice was not layered. It was a single tone, smooth and low. "Why did you call me?" Nari's breath froze inside her chest. I didn't call you," she whispered, trembling. The figure tilted its head higher, almost amused. "You used the stone of voices. You opened the path." Nari's mind replayed the moment she sent the message. "Come over. My wife isn't home today." Her own words now felt like poisoned seeds. The figure's head lowered again. The door between worlds answers invitation. The world seemed to tilt. The air felt thick. Maru barked sharply, "Who are you?" The figure smiled then. An expression stretched too wide, as if its face borrowed the memory of a smile rather than knowing how to make one. And when it spoke, the words rolled through hot like cold water on bare skin. "I am she who walks at dusk." The name struck Nari like a blow. She had heard it before, once, long ago, whispered by the old women during a funeral night, their faces painted with ash. An ancient spirit, a wanderer between realms, a presence who lingered at the edge of villages, waiting for doors foolishly opened. Nari shook her head violently. "We did not summon you." The spirit lifted its hand again, and this time the fingers stretched impossibly long. "You opened the path," it repeated. "When you answered the longing of another, you called my echo." Maru stepped between Nari and the spirit. "Leave my home. Return to where you came from." The spirit laughed, not loud, but deep, vibrating through the walls. The torches outside bent inward as though bowing to the sound. "I am bound until the invitation ends." Nari's stomach twisted. What invitation? The spirit's eyes drifted to her. "The message you sent. A promise not yet completed." Nari's voice cracked. "But I sent it to a person, not to you." The shadows outside stirred, whispering like leaves on a windless night. The spirit leaned closer, its form growing sharper around the edges. "The living message passes through realms before reaching its mark," it said simply. "Some realms listen, some take what is sent." I was listening. Nari's throat closed. Behind her ribs, her heart felt too large, too loud. Maru grabbed her hand, squeezing hard. "We go to Elder Kamati. Now." But as he turned to guide Nari toward the back exit, she who walks at dusk drifted sideways, blocking the path without physically stepping inside. "You will not leave," she said softly. Maru raised his knife. "Move." The spirit looked almost amused. "Blades cannot cut dusk." Maru's jaw tightened. His grip trembled. The spirit leaned closer. Her voice softened, almost gentle. "Let me in, Maru." His entire body froze. The words wrapped around him like vines. Nari saw it. The way his eyes dimmed, the way his shoulders slumped, the way something invisible pulled at him. Nari reacted before she could think. She grabbed his arm. "Maru, look at me." His gaze flickered, as if fighting through heavy fog. The spirit whispered again, "Let me in, and I will grant what your heart fears." Maru's lips parted. "My heart?" The spirit's form fluttered like a torn cloth in the windless air. "Your fear of betrayal, your fear of lies, your fear that she hides things from you." Nari gasped sharply. Maru's eyes snapped toward her, hurt, confused, shaken. She who walks at dusk smiled behind him. Nari shook her head desperately. "Maru, don't listen. Spirits twist truth." The spirit stepped closer, still barred by the threshold. "She invited another woman tonight. Not you, not love, but U.S. Pishin. You are not her trust." Nari's voice broke. "Maru, please. She lies. The spirit's white eyes glowed brighter. "Let me in," she whispered again, "and I will show you the truth you fear to look at." Nari felt as though claws scraped the inside of her chest. She clutched Maru's arm with both hands. "Don't listen," she begged. "She wants entry, nothing else. Once inside, she will not leave." Maru stared between Nari and the spirit, torn, trembling, caught between human doubt and supernatural persuasion. The shadows outside dragged closer. More shapes gathered behind the spirit, thin, wavering, hollow echoes, spirits drawn by the open path. She who walks at dusk leaned forward. "Your wife opened the way," she said sweetly. "And if you open the door, the way will close." Nari's heart stopped. Close? If the way closed, would the spirits be trapped inside? Nari grabbed Maru's face with both hands. "Maru, look at me. Please, I was wrong to send the message. I panicked. I was afraid. But you," her voice cracked, "you are my husband. I love you. I trust you. Don't give her what she wants." Maru's breath came in shallow bursts. The spirit whispered, "Let me in." Nari whispered, "Stay with me." The fire behind them roared suddenly, higher than before, its light striking the spirit's form. For the first time, she who walks at dusk recoiled. A sound escaped her, not fear, but irritation, like wind rushing through broken reeds. Maru blinked hard. His mind cleared, just a little. Enough to step backward, away from the door. Nari felt his fingers tighten around hers. The spirit's eyes widened, her calm cracking. Behind her, the other shadow figures stilled. She who walks at dusk lowered her voice, now sharp and cold. "You cannot run from the door you opened." Nari squared her shoulders, though her body shook. "Then we will learn how to close it." The spirit tilted her head. "You will not survive the cost." And then, the door dropped. The cloth fell still. The shadow figures vanished, but the presence remained, waiting, pressing, listening. Nari and Maru stood together, breath locked, hands joined. The discovery was clear. This was no simple haunting. No accident. This was a binding. The message Nari had sent did not summon a ghost, it summoned a dead. And the night had many hours left. The hut remained silent for a long moment after the cloth curtain fell back into place. The fire crackled weakly now, small and uncertain, its earlier bravery dimmed by the weight of the spirit's warning. Nari kept her hand locked with Maru's as if letting go would let the shadows slip between their fingers. Maru swallowed hard. His throat moved slowly, like each gulp fought against some heavy truth inside him. He finally whispered, "Nari. What have we invited?" Nari lowered her head, shame flooding her chest. "A spirit," she whispered. "One that listens at dusk, one that waits for open doors." Her voice trembled. "I opened one." Maru shut his eyes. Pain washed across his face, not anger, not accusation, but hurt. Deep, old hurt that softened the space between them. He finally turned to face her fully. "Why?" he whispered. "Why did you reply? Why would you bring that?" Nari inhaled shakily. "Because I was afraid," she said. "Because when I saw Ash's message, I did not want to wait for your truth." Tears welled in her eyes. "I should have trusted you. Instead, I acted without thinking." Maru's gaze softened just a little. But the wound remained, a bruise in the air between them. He stepped away from her, rubbing his face with both hands. "A message of jealousy," he murmured, and a spirit stepped through the seam of it. They both stared at the doorway, expecting the curtain to rise again, expecting the pale eyes to return. But the spirit did not reappear. It was waiting, watching, listening, and waiting spirits were far more dangerous than wandering ones. Nari felt a cold tremor pass through her. "We need Elder Kamati," she whispered. "Only he knows how to close a path between worlds." Maru nodded slowly. "We go together." But as he reached for the door, a low throb echoed through the ground, like a heartbeat underneath the soil. The clay floor vibrated softly. The fire flickered as if startled. Nari froze. "Did you feel that?" Maru nodded. "That was not the earth." Another throb followed, stronger, deeper. Nari felt it in her feet, clamming her legs and tightening around her chest. The walls of the hut distorted for a moment, bending slightly inward as if the mud wanted to breathe. Nari stumbled back. She's still here." A voice came faintly through the cracks of the wall. Not loud, not angry, just patient. "Maru?" Maru stiffened. "She's trying to pull you," Nari whispered, panic rising. "She wants you because I opened the path." Maru backed away from the wall. "I won't listen to her." But the spirit's voice slid through the hut like mist. "You fear her betrayal, don't you?" Maru shut his eyes, inhaling sharply. She's twisting my mind. Nari grabbed his arm. Fight her. She wants doubt. Doubt opens doors. Maru opened his eyes again, clearer, stronger. I won't give her another door. The spirit paused. The walls trembled lightly, irritated. Then a new sound rose outside, soft footsteps approaching from the direction of the village center. Many footsteps, uneven but human. Nari gasped. Someone is coming. Maru moved toward the door, but Nari grabbed his wrist. What if it's more spirits? Before Maru could answer, a familiar voice called from outside. Maru, Nari, are you safe? It was Elder Kamati. Maru tore open the curtain, ignoring the spirit's hiss of displeasure that rippled through the hut. Outside stood the old man, tall and bent with age, leaning on his staff carved from ancient baobab wood. He wore white paint along his temples and across his chest, the markings used only when dealing with spirits. Behind him stood 2 hunters from the guild, torches in hand, sweat glistening on their brows. Elder Kamati's old eyes scanned the shadows around the hut. She is near, he whispered. I smell her. Nari and Maru stepped outside, staying close together. The hunters cast their torches in every direction, but the darkness seemed thicker than usual, like a curtain pulled tight. Kamati turned to them. Tell me everything. Nari forced herself to speak. She explained the message, the reply she typed, the spirit that answered instead, the knocking, the voice, the figure under the acacia tree. Kamati listened silently, each detail carving deeper creases into his old face. When she finished, he struck the ground 3 times with his staff. You opened the path of longing, he said gravely. A path that answers desire, human or spirit. Nari felt faint. I didn't desire her. I didn't want her. Kamati's eyes narrowed. But you desired truth. You desired proof. That is enough to summon she who walks at dusk. Nari shivered. How do we send her back? Kamati exhaled deeply. With a confession. Maru frowned. A confession? Kamati nodded. The path she walked through is tied to the emotion that opened it. If it was jealousy, the heart must release it. If it was fear, the heart must face it. Nari's stomach twisted. And if we don't? Kamati looked at the dark tree line. She will keep pushing, until one of you opens the door fully. Nari trembled. We will not. Kamati gave her a long, heavy look. She is patient. Humans are not. Before Nari could answer, the spirit's laugh drifted through the acacia branches. Kamati spun around, gripping his staff tightly. Do not look at her eyes, he warned. Do not speak her name. The hunters stiffened. The torches flickered. A shape appeared near the tree again. She who walks at dusk stood there, taller, clearer, more defined. Her face was still shadowed, but her eyes glowed brighter than before. Kamati raised his staff. Spirit of dusk, return to your realm. You have no rightful binding here. The spirit tilted her head, amused. I was invited. Kamati frowned. Not by the man whose home you stalk. She who walks at dusk turned her glowing eyes toward Nari. Her invitation is enough. Kamati struck the ground again, and a faint wave of light rippled beneath the dust. But the spirit didn't flinch. She stepped forward, once, twice. The torches bent backward, nearly extinguished. The hunters stumbled. Kamati gasped. She is stronger than expected. Nari's voice shook. What does she want? The spirit turned her pale eyes toward Maru, and her answer was soft, chilling, final. I want what was promised. A home, a heart. A door opened. Nari's blood ran cold. She wants you. Maru stepped in front of Nari instinctively. Then she will never enter. The spirit's voice wrapped around them like smoke. We shall see. The shadows around her swirled. The night deepened, and Elder Kamati whispered, prepare yourselves. Tonight, she will try again. The moment the Queen of Echo's thunderous words spread across the clearing, the air thickened until it felt like wet clay pressing upon every chest. Even the trees bent slightly, their canopies trembling as though bowing to an ancient force older than the first sunrise. Asha felt her knees weakening under that overwhelming presence, but she locked her feet into the soil, refusing to show fear. Beside her, Kofi steadied his breath, his fingers tightening around the wooden staff he had carved days ago without knowing he would wield it for his survival. Queen Niavinga's massive, translucent body glowed brighter now, her shimmering robes flowing like ribbons of moonlit water. Her eyes, 2 swirling orbs of deep indigo, fixed themselves on Kofi with a cold calmness that was far more terrifying than anger. You have broken the oldest law, the queen said. The law no mortal must ever dare to test. Her voice did not shout. It rumbled. Asha wanted to shout back, wanted to tell this spirit queen that she didn't understand, that Kofi had not meant to summon anything forbidden, but her tongue froze as though caught in frost. The queen's presence held it locked. Only Kofi managed to speak. Great queen, it was not love for the spirit that moved me. It was fear. Fear of losing my place in my home, of losing Asha. He took a trembling step forward. The staff in his hand flickered with faint, odd light, reacting to the presence of the queen and the hum within the forest. Asha could see it too. Thin silver lines crawling across the wood grain like small lightning bolts. You mortals always say that, Queen Neavinga replied. Fear, love, confusion, desire. You wrap your actions in these words, hoping they will become excuses. As she lifted her hand, a wave of blue light surged outward. It struck the ground first, splitting soil and rock with cracks that glowed like fire beneath ice. Trees bent further. The wind shrieked. The spirits gathered along the edges of the clearing, some small like children of mist, others tall and thin as shadows, watched silently, their flickering forms whipped by the rising storm. You invited one of my daughters into your heart, the queen continued, turning her gaze to Asha. And you, she pointed at Kofi, opened the door wider by answering her message. Together, you have tangled the living realm with mine. You have weakened the veil. The veil. Asha had heard that word only in children's tales. The thin border between the living and the realm of spirits. The fragile wall that kept balance in all things. And now she and Kofi had torn a hole through it. Asha swallowed hard. But we did not know, she whispered. You knew enough to fear, the queen replied. That is already knowledge. Then, without warning, her hand snapped outward. The clearing exploded with light. Asha was thrown backward. She hit the ground hard. The wind knocked from her chest. Kofi rolled several steps before slamming into the roots of the ancient baobab tree. Pain flashed across his face, but he pushed himself up, stubborn despite the tremble in his arms. The staff glowed brighter now, wildly bright, as though answering a command not from him but from something deep beneath the earth. Asha gasped as she saw the ground beneath Kofi crack open, revealing a glow like molten gold swirling beneath the soil. The staff hummed with raw power. What is happening to him? Asha cried out. The queen turned her face toward the staff, and for the first time, her expression shifted, not anger, not calm, but recognition. That staff, Neavinga said slowly, is carved from the root of echoes. Asha blinked. The what? The same tree that links my realm to yours, the queen explained, her voice tightening slightly. No mortal has touched that tree for 1,000 seasons. And yet, this one, she pointed at Kofi, has carved its wood without even knowing what he held. Kofi stared at the glowing staff, confusion mixing with alarm. I only wanted something strong for the fields, he said. A tool, nothing more. The queen's eyes narrowed. There is nothing more when it comes to ancient things. The staff's glow intensified, and suddenly roots burst from the ground, spiraling around Kofi's feet and climbing up his legs like vines of lightning. Asha screamed and ran toward him, but a wall of shimmering force rose in front of her, stopping her mid-stride. She hit it, bounced back, and fell into the mud. Kofi, she cried. He couldn't move. The roots held him firm, lifting him slightly off the ground as though presenting him to the queen. This is the bond you made, Neavinga said. The bond you opened with your fear. Kofi clenched his fists. Then break the bond. Take the spirit back. Close the door. The queen floated closer, her towering form casting an enormous shadow over him. It is not that simple, she said. A bond once made cannot be unmade. Asha's here. Tea dropped. Then what can we do? The queen looked at her, and for the first time, her expression softened, not with warmth, but with pity. For the veil to close, she said, a sacrifice must be made. Asha felt her stomach twist. She stood shakily. What sacrifice? The queen pointed to Kofi. To free him, something he loves must be surrendered. No, Asha shouted, stepping forward again, even as tears filled her eyes. There must be another way. There is no other way, the queen said. The spirits surrounding the clearing began to chant. Their whispers grew louder, forming an eerie harmony that vibrated through the air, through bone, through heart. The wind swirled, leaves spiraling into the air like glowing embers caught in a storm. Kofi stared at Asha, his eyes wide suddenly, not with fear, but with resolve. Asha, he said softly, come closer. The barrier between them shimmered, then parted just enough for her to step through. Asha ran to him, ignoring the burning sensation against her skin as she passed through the magical boundary. She gripped his face. "Do not say goodbye," she begged. "We will find another way." He smiled faintly. "You taught me to fight for what matters. Now it is your turn to let me fight for us." Asha wept, shaking her head furiously. "No, no." But Kofi lifted the staff with his remaining strength. He pressed it into her hands. "You must choose," the queen said. "The living realm, or him." Asha stared at the staff, feeling its heat, its pulse like a heartbeat. She looked up at the queen, then at Kofi, then at the swirling sky above them. Everything felt unreal. Everything felt painfully, cruelly real. The spirit's chant rose higher, faster. Kofi's voice trembled. "Asha, if you love me, do what must be done." Asha screamed as the ground cracked open beneath them, golden light flooding upward like rising dawn. The queen raised her arms. "This is the moment," she declared. "The veil will either be sealed, or shattered forever." Asha lifted the glowing staff with shaking hands, caught between saving her world, and losing her husband forever. The light swallowed everything. For a long moment, Asha could see nothing, only a white gold emptiness swirling around her like a storm made of light itself. She felt weightless, suspended between worlds. Her screams had stopped, not because she no longer wanted to cry, but because sound could not exist in this blinding space. "Kofi," she shouted, her voice swallowed instantly. The staff burned in her hands, but she held it tighter. She would not let go. She had already lost too much. She would not lose him to a world she barely understood. Gradually, the light softened. A faint shape appeared ahead, standing on what looked like a floor made of rippling moonlight. It was Kofi. His outline flickered like a flame struggling against wind. "Kofi?" He opened his eyes slowly. "Asha." She rushed toward him, and this time, there was no barrier, no spirit wall, no force to push her back. She crashed into him, wrapping her arms around him and pressing her face to his chest. She felt his warmth, but it was fragile, as if it could fade at any moment. Behind them, the golden glow dimmed further, revealing a vast circular plane suspended between the worlds, half light, half shadow. The Queen of Echoes stood at the center, her towering form now calmer, more solemn. The other spirits formed a ring around them, watching silently. "You have brought the mortal willing to be judged," the queen said, her voice echoing softly rather than thunderously. Asha stepped defensively in front of Kofi. "Judge me instead. Leave him." Kofi shook his head weakly. "Asha." "No," she snapped, her voice breaking. "If someone must sacrifice, let it be me." The queen studied her for a long quiet moment. The spirits murmured in surprise, their whispers swirling like dry leaves. "You would give your life for him?" the queen asked. Asha swallowed hard. "Yes. You would stay in the spirit realm forever," Niavinga clarified. "Your body would fade from the world of flesh. You would become nothing but memory to your village." Asha trembled. She imagined her mother searching for her. The empty compound, her mat untouched, the whispers in the village. She imagined living as a spirit, never aging, never breathing wind, never feeling the sun on her skin. "It is the price I am willing to pay," she whispered. Kofi did wrong in his fear. "But I also allowed jealousy to guide me," I replied to the spirit. "I let doubt enter our home." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "We both created the wound in the veil. So let me mend it." The queen's eyes softened like dusk light. "You mortals never cease to confuse me," she murmured. "You destroy with fear, then heal with love." She raised her hand. Asha braced herself. Wind surged around her, pulling at her hair, her clothes, her breath. Her body felt as though it were dissolving into dust made of light. Kofi screamed her name. "Asha, no, no." He grabbed her shoulders, holding her back with everything he had. His fingers passed partly through her as her form flickered. "Do not take her," Kofi cried to the queen, voice cracking. "If this is the balance needed, take me. Take my spirit, let her go home." Asha's eyes widened. "Kofi, no, you will vanish from the living world forever. But you," he whispered, "you will live." His forehead leaned against hers. "You have always been the stronger one." A crack split the ground between them. The spirit world pulsed with deep thunder as if reacting to the two clashing. Sacrifices. The queen lifted both hands. Enough. Her command silenced the storm. The ground stilled. The wind quieted. The light dimmed to dusk. "You offer yourselves," Niavinga said, looking between them, "but sacrifice given in confusion destroys more than it heals." Asha blinked through tears. "But you said," I said a sacrifice must be made, the queen replied. I did not say it must be death. She stretched her hand toward Kofi. A thread of silvery blue light emerged from his chest, thin as hair, glowing like a firefly. Asha gasped. It pulsed weakly, like a heartbeat made of light. This, the queen said, is the bond that tied you to my daughter, the echo spirit you answered. The light thread wriggled, reaching toward the sky like a snake trying to break free. Kofi screamed as it pulled from him, falling to his knees. Asha knelt beside him, holding him tightly. The queen continued, to close the veil, this bond must be severed by your own hands, not mine. Asha's breath caught. Our hands? Yes, the queen said. Take the staff. Break the bond yourselves. This is the sacrifice. To confront what you invited, to end what you awakened. To let go of all fear and all lingering shadow. Asha and Kofi looked at each other. This was their fault, their story, their wound. They must be the ones to heal it. Asha tightened her grip on the staff. Are you ready? Kofi nodded. Together, they pressed the glowing staff against the floating thread of spirit light. The bond shrieked like a creature in pain, high, sharp, ancient. The ground shook. The sky tore open with a burst of swirling colors. Asha screamed as the power surged up her arms, but she held on. Kofi gritted his teeth, pressing his hands over hers to add strength. The staff burned blinding white now, brighter than anything they had seen. The queen spoke one final command, break it. Asha and Kofi pushed with every drop of strength they held. The thread snapped. A wave of pure light shot outward like a sun exploding. It raced across the sky, clearing darkness, sealing cracks, restoring the thin shimmering veil between realms. The spirits cried out, not in pain, but in release. Their forms brightened and then dissolved into sparks that drifted upward like lanterns rising into night. The Queen of Echoes bowed her head, her towering form dimming gently. It is done, she said. The world turned black. Then, Asha opened her eyes to the night sky. The forest was quiet again. Crickets sang. The scent of earth and leaves filled her lungs. She lay on the cool ground beneath the old baobab, and Kofi lay beside her, breathing softly but alive. He turned to her. We made it. She laughed through tears, touching his cheek. We did. In the distance, the first blush of dawn touched the horizon. Kofi helped her stand, and together they walked hand in hand toward the path leading home. Neither spoke for a long time. They didn't need to. The silence between them was not emptiness, it was healing. As they reached the village edge, Asha finally said, we must never let fear speak louder than truth again. Kofi nodded slowly, tightening his fingers around hers. And we must guard our home with honesty, not shadows. Asha looked up at the rising sun. The spirit realm was silent now. The veil was whole. Balance had returned, but the lesson would never leave them.